Is the throw horker barb a viable build slash strategy? Let's find out. Oh boys! What's up YouTube, Winterguard here. We're going to play around with something a little different today. This is something that I got leveled up over the past few days with the help of the community, of course. We did some community runs and got the throw barb up to level, finished hell difficulty. But a little different spin on the standard throw barb from what I've seen anyways. We're going to go with the throw barb and using find item, also known as horking. For those in the Diablo community, you already know this. So we're going to call this the throrker. New term. We're gonna make this a thing, hopefully, with this video. It's been a lot of fun. I was kind of surprised at how successful I've been with this build. Right now we're at level 85. Been grinding Travincal and using the find item ability to do a little magic find. But this turned out to be surprisingly viable. I wasn't too sure that this was going to work with the initial builds that we did. But yeah, I think this is going to be a thing. Or at least something that people will try, because it is a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it immensely so far, and got to be perfectly honest, horking is kind of addicting. I've never been a barb player. So this is my first one in many, many, many years. And I got to be honest, when next ladder drops, I will either run this or the pally out of the gate. This has been absolutely too much fun. So let's take a look at the build itself, and then the itemization, and then we'll take a couple of runs at Trav just to show you how this works out. We'll also look at the merc. As you can see, I'm using the Act 5 merc, and that's actually worked out pretty well also. So that's actually my first Act 5 merc on ladder. I had messed around with it when 2.4 dropped, but I have not done this on ladder, so we'll take a look at that as well. But let's look at the skills first, and there's some variations on this, but this is what we ended up with. Again, using the input from chat on stream, we kind of put this together. So first off, here's where we start. We go into double throw, of course. This is going to be your main attack, and the synergy for double throw is double swing. We went one point into frenzy just to be able to proc the frenzy speed, which then increases your throw speed. So that was the point for a reason for going into frenzy. But this, of course, is your main attack with double swing and synergy. However, when you're doing this, once you get to double throw, you probably want to max masteries first, because the big advantage of using double throw is the pierce advantage from masteries. And again, these are changes that were applied during 2.4, and you also get the AR bump, damage bump. When you crit, it replenishes the quantity, and as you put more points into mastery, there's the chance of not consuming the item per throw. So as you can see there, at max level 24, you get a 58% chance to just not even use the item when you throw it, and if it crits, it'll replenish a quantity. So in combination, you could technically gain one while throwing. And what I've seen from this, just in practical use, is that I just never run out. I have not had to repair any of the throw items to get the quantity back. This was something they played around with 2.4. They made a couple adjustments with it, and it works extremely well now. You will not run out of the items you're using while you're running. It replenishes too quick, and it doesn't get used also. So this is a really nice change to throw, and this is kind of the backbone of it. And the pierce is also another piece of the puzzle that allows you to hit multiple targets. It does require you lining up targets, but if you kite successfully, they'll start to line up anyway. So this works out pretty well. And again, my goal with this was to use this in Travincal and potentially just the pits. This is kind of a niche farming areas for me build, so that's what we're doing is on this build. Also, I didn't mean to close that. Find item, gain the bonus with the find potion in 2.4 as well. So you kind of want to do it in this order. Go with your 1 point into fine item and then start dumping points into potion first. This is your best bang for the buck per point, is to do that. And then points left over, maybe start dumping it here. This is where I'm at right now. I went, of course, 1 point at 1 point to get battle orders and battle command. And then from here, I will probably be dumping points into fine item. But at this point, you can kind of mix things up. You do need to also hit your iron skin, resistance, your stamina, all your 1 pointers here, just to kind of get those things up. Because the way my itemization is, it does help to have a little more points in natural resistance. So let's take a look at the itemization and what we did maybe a little different in this regard. So we're running War Strikes. From the number crunching we did, the best, if you look at it on paper, is War Strike and actually Lacerator. Ideally, you want an Ethereal, but here's what I run into with this on running Travincal. If you look at Lacerators, so on paper, the Lacerator is probably the best for offhand spot. But mainly for the chance of amp damage, because this will mitigate physical immunes. If the amp procs, then physical immune drops off, and you could burn physical immunes down easy. However, you get the monster flee 50%, and this becomes extremely annoying. And so to offset that, you have to make a couple of changes. So we went with, and you don't have to go with the Demon's Arch here. This was kind of something we just had available. This was loaned to me by one of my subscribers to test, and we did this, and it turned out to be a lot better. My original build included the High Lords for the Ami, but we went with Atmos to get back the amp damage, because you need this to deal with physical immunes. You get that on the Lacerator, but since you switch off the Lacerator, the Atmos is what I need to be able to deal with physical immunes, which you will run into on occasion on Travincal. Occasionally they will spawn physical immune, and if you don't have a way to mitigate that, then you might as well just reset. And this works. The damage is good on the Demon's Arch, and it has the increased attack speed, so there might be some other options here in the offhand. And well, you know, it might be one here for the War Strikes as well. But with the Pierce on the War Strikes, Deadly Strike here, it's just a really nasty combo. Feel free to play around with the combination of throw weapons, though. There's some decent options out there, but that's where we settled out. So I also went with the Immortal King just for the magic find. You do get the +2 war cries, which is where you will find fine item, fine potions. So you get a couple skill points there, plus the 2 sockets that come with Immortal King. So this was a nice magic find bump. And here's where there's some options to play around with. I went with Wealth just because of the added magic find again, the extra gold. The gold that flies from this build is pretty crazy. You can cap out at your 10 million pretty fast. Even though this is not really a gold find build, I'm doing this for magic find. But the only thing that comes with the using wealth is you're losing out on resists and just defensive measures. But it turns out that that's not really an issue. Since it's mainly a Travincal runner for me, we went with the Dwarf Stars for the Fire Absorb. We went with Razor's Tail for Pierce. Again, there's some with the Pierce from your masteries. The Razor Tail might not be the play. I'm thinking about switching this out with a upped gold wrapped, maybe to again increase magic find and gold. We went with Lava Gouts with the IAS. These are pretty nice, and you got the fire resist. And Gore Riders for Crushing Blow, Deadly Strike again. So we got a lot of damage amplification, if you will. You got deadly strike, crushing blow, and open wounds all over this build. It's pretty crazy. You get the amp damage procs from the Atmas. So this build actually hits really hard. Of course, you got the torch and the Annihilus. A barb torch is honestly pretty easy to come by. Annihilus are a dime a dozen at this point because of the declone spawning constantly. Won't get into that. And just various charms that I've come up with right now. I'm using a couple war cries. The max damage AR charms with life are probably going to be a really nice addition to this build. But we're in the process of switching out charms as we find them, so that's where we're at right now. I did get kind of lucky with a couple of all resist small charms. I thought I had another one. Oh well, never mind. So let's look at where we're at with the current build, and you got to take into mind that the wealth chest piece does not have any resist. We're at 40% fire resist. Some people might think this too low for Travincal, but with the dual dwarf stars, you just don't take any fire damage. You get a 30% fire absorbed from dual dwarf stars, and if you look at dwarf stars, not the best magic find item, but you get 200% extra gold using dwarf stars. So you're kind of combining a magic find, gold find, barb all in one. So if you look at the stats, just off the base setup, we got 218 magic find, and we're at 713% gold. Now, this is not including Switch. If you look at Switch, and I'm running dual Alibabas, only one of them is double isted right now. The other one's still empty. Look at the jump. You're looking at 448 magic find and 1138% gold find just on Switch. If you're wanting to push gold more, you know, you could do the lemmed phase blades, that sort of thing. But this build is really nasty. I have been extremely impressed with how this works. You can look at the double throw damage. You're looking at 1936 to 3439. I believe that's considered offhand, so that might be the Demon Arch. It might be completely off base on that. And now let's look at the merc real quick. Now this is something I stole from somebody else. I wish I could remember where I saw the video. This was something I pulled from YouTube, and there's been a couple people that have tested this and have found it work out pretty well. We're using the Sazabi set. So if you look at the full set bonus, and again, with the changes in 2.4, the plus skills do apply to the mercenaries. So you gain the advantage of the plus skills from the combined stat, or from the set bonuses. The faster run walk doesn't really come into play. The life steal is really nice. You get 30 resist from the set bonus, and the DR as well. So this is a really decent set. Now here's where there's some controversy, and I am running a grief in main hand. There are a lot of options here. You can run a head striker. It doesn't have to be the ethereal one. Easy to put your hands on head striker. Lawbringer is a great choice here. You could find a good main hand weapon that you don't need to have the grief. I just happen to have one, so I put it in slot. But that's not the point of the set. You can fill this other weapon slot with a multitude of cheaper options, and this build will still be nasty. I don't think running grief makes this an OP build or one that can't be achieved. This is kind of where you gain a lot of bonus, and you can fill this in. And you can make a Lawbringer. Lawbringer is extremely cheap to make. Again, there's a multitude of weapons you could put in this offhand slot. I mean, you don't have to have the grief as your main item to make this viable. That's just not the case. So, something to think about. I've had a lot of fun with this. We're going to do a quick run just to show you how this works. But I've just had too much fun with this build. Again, this might be my go-to for the next ladder. It's just been too much. And there's a lot of room to build on this. Again, if you look at the weapon swap, I had 2 ists available to put into the first Alibaba. I don't have 2 more yet, so we're going to pick up another 60 magic find once we get the 2 more ists here. So this is just a crazy viable build, in my opinion. But let's take a look at it. Let's run Trav real quick, and hopefully we don't get insta-gibbed by some stupid combos. But I feel like this, I haven't really run anything that nasty yet. And buff up, of course. Now, a lot of people try and take a short way to that. I don't really bother. Being that you are a throw barb, you got to have a little bit of range. So I always just go front entrance and pull a pack out maybe, and then kind of go from there. Let's clear behind a little bit. You can run Dwarf Star Ravenfrost maybe to deal with some of this garbage cold that you might have to deal with, because sometimes you get the auras off of the council pack. But what I normally do, I don't jump straight in. The merc does have a decent amount of tankiness, but I just feel like I save myself a lot of headaches by just pulling them out the front door. And as you can see, the gold, and this is not off horking. This is just off of just killing the monster straight out. The Act 5 Merc can tank a decent amount of this by himself. As you see, he's taking a little bit of damage, but he has life steal, so he usually gens that right back. We'll hork what we find up here, and then we'll pull the next pack. You see here, the gold is just kind of crazy. I know the guys that build straight gold find setups see a lot more than this, but just in general, man, they're magic find charm. Now, it's not as fast as jumping in there and just smashing everything, but I feel like you don't have to really get a crazy setup to do this. So maybe if you feel like this is a little slower, you know, that's fine. But just in general, I think this works pretty well for the gear that's required. I don't think the gear setup's that expensive. Wealth is easy to make. It's extremely cheap. Alibabas, they don't cost anything these days. You can usually find one fairly easy. That is a finished clear. Then you hork everything up, and my barb's actually full on money, so I can't pick any more up. But I mean, you see how much is laying there. That's just a crazy amount of gold. And this is not a gold find setup. Now, if you wanted to make this more of a rune hunter, of course, reduce your magic find. You can just hork off of your main hand setup if you're just trying to pop bodies for runes. You don't want to push the magic find up. You want to have as little magic find as possible if you're trying to rune hunt, which a lot of people do in Travincal. But I mean, in the whole scheme of things, this was not a slow run. I pulled a few separately, but I know some people that like to really run fast. They like to just jump in and smash everything at once, hork all the bodies and get out. But I mean, I would be willing to bet 50%, greater than 50% of the player base doesn't actually play that way. There's some really efficient farmers out there, but for the most part, most of us just want to get in here, kill some stuff, pop some bodies, reset. You know, we're not in it for the just most efficient speed grind that we can come up with. And I think all told, that run maybe took a couple minutes. We're going to walk out of here with probably a couple 100,000 gold. It looks like it might be way more than that. You know, we had some rares drop. We had a small charm drop. I'd say that's pretty good. I think this is an extremely fun build. I think you guys will enjoy this. And I gotta be honest, I was throwing war strikes and demon arches on the ground before. I wasn't even picking them up. I checked to see if maybe they were ethereal. Lacerators I dropped a lot. I couldn't even tell you how many war strikes I dropped. But I mean, the whole scheme of things, an IK helm, some lava gouts. You know, you can the highest rune in this is a limb. This is all stuff that we just have for granted on our mules, to be perfectly honest. Dwarf stars, I mean, a lot of times I wouldn't pick them up. You know, I kept a razor tail just in case. Some gore riders, I gotta be honest, that might be the most expensive piece. I don't know. I think you guys should try this out. This has been a lot of fun, and it's pretty efficient. I'm gonna run it and pit some as well. I wish I had room to pick up this gold. I guess I need to do some gambling to clear my bags and start picking this stuff back. I hate leaving this on the ground, but yeah, I got 10 million on this one, and I got my other characters already full, so I need to do some gambling just to clear some space for gold. But that's pretty much it, guys. Again, let's try the throrker out. Let's make this a thing. I think this is a really fun build, a little different. As a Diablo community, I think we're always looking for something a little different to try. Throw barbs are definitely a thing in general in ladder, but using it in combination with find item may be a little different. Try it out. Let's see what happens. We'll leave it here for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this type of video, give me a like and subscribe. You can catch me on stream 3 days a week at least. We've been running 4 days here lately. If you want to ask me a question, I'm usually on Discord. I try to respond as quickly as I can. Link is in the description as well. You guys have a great day. Keep on farming.